I still remember the day I first saw the creek. It was peaceful, wild, full of life. Kids used to play here. Ducks floated on the surface, and I'd sit on my porch just watching it flow. It was my little slice of heaven. But that day, everything changed. It was supposed to be just another normal morning. I was sipping my coffee, listening to the birds, when I saw the trucks roll in. At first, I thought it was some construction for the neighborhood. But then I saw the concrete, tons of it, being poured right into the creek. I froze. My stomach sank. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. They were covering up the water, my creek, like it was trash. I ran outside, shouting, trying to stop them. But it was too late. The concrete was flowing fast, sealing off the creek, turning it into a dead, muddy mess. And then she appeared. A woman. No, a fireball. Storming out her house, furious. She looked straight at me and yelled, "Your creek is illegal." Her voice was sharp like a dagger. Her eyes were blazing with anger and defiance. She was right, but I didn't care about legality at that moment. All I saw was destruction. I wanted to scream back, to ask what the hell they thought they were doing. But instead, I just stared, stunned. My heart pounded. I felt sick. How could they do this? How could they ruin something so beautiful, so vital? And why was no one stopping them? That's when I realized this wasn't just some accident. It was a conspiracy. The HOA, the contractors, they were all in on it. Quietly, behind our backs, they decided to turn our creek into a concrete ditch, all to benefit their own pockets. They thought they could get away with it, but they messed with the wrong neighborhood. If you're watching this, let me ask you, have you ever seen something so unfair, so wrong, and felt completely powerless? Well, I'm telling you right now, this is just the beginning, because I'm not going to sit back and let them destroy what little natural beauty we have left. No way. This is a story of how a small creek sparked a fight that changed everything. And trust me, it's a fight you don't want to miss. So buckle up. It's going to be one hell of a ride. I'll be honest, I never thought I'd be fighting for something like this. I'm just a regular guy, a dad, an environmental engineer who loves this community and the creek that's been part of my life for over a decade. Growing up here, I saw how the creek was more than just water. It was a part of us, a place for kids to play, for ducks to swim, for me to find peace after a long day. But now all that's gone. Or at least it's on the verge of disappearing forever. That woman, that fiery woman who yelled at me, her name's Sarah. She's been living here just as long as I have, maybe longer. She's not afraid to speak her mind. She's the kind of person who's always fought for what's right, no matter how tough it gets. She's not only mad about the creek. She's mad about how the HOA is just rolling over everyone, doing whatever they want without respect for us or the environment. Our neighborhood? It's a quiet, leafy suburb in the outskirts of Austin, Texas. Big houses, manicured lawns, and that creek, it's what made this place special. It's the kind of neighborhood where everyone knows each other, where kids still ride bikes and families have barbecues on weekends. But all that peace, it's cracking apart. The HOA, they're supposed to keep things in order, right? Make sure everything's safe and nice. But lately, it's been a different story. They've become a shadow, pushing through their own plans without listening to us. They're sneaky, manipulative, and now they're trying to erase our creek just to make a quick buck. What really gets me, they didn't even bother to ask us. No permits, no community meetings, nothing. Just trucks, concrete, and a plan to turn our beloved creek into a concrete nightmare. I've looked into it. They're claiming it's for drainage improvements. But I know better. It's greed. Pure greed. And Sarah? She's not going down without a fight. She's been gathering neighbors, digging up info, and even threatening to expose their lies. We're all scared, angry, and feeling helpless. But something in me, maybe stubbornness, maybe that tiny flame of hope, refuses to give up because I know this isn't just about a creek. It's about our community, our right to protect our environment, our homes, and what little natural beauty we have left. If we just sit back, they'll take everything piece by piece. So this is who I am, just a guy who loves his creek, his neighborhood, and who's ready to stand up no matter what it takes. It all happened so fast, I swear. One day, I was just minding my own business, trying to understand what was going on, when suddenly everything exploded. The HOA truck showed up again, but this time it was different. They weren't just doing some minor repairs or maintenance. No, they had bulldozers and concrete mixers. I saw the workers with their masks pouring and spreading concrete like they were building a damn highway. My stomach sank instantly. I ran outside, yelling at them to stop, but they didn't listen. They just kept working like we didn't even exist. I could feel my blood boiling. My hands trembled. My heart pounded so hard, I thought it would burst out of my chest. I tried to get closer, but a security guard blocked me. I begged, yelled, pleaded, anything to make them stop, but it was useless. They had no permit, no approval from us, no permission at all, just a rush to wipe out what was left of our creek. And then I saw her, Sarah, standing across the street, her face red with anger. She shouted at the workers, demanding they stop. Her voice echoed through the neighborhood. "This is illegal. You can't do this," she yelled, loud enough to make the workers pause for a second. That's when I saw the tears in her eyes. She's always been fierce, but that day she looked like she was about to cry, because she knew the truth. This wasn't just about concrete or a creek. It was about us, our homes, our rights, and the future of this place. The worst part? They didn't even care about our protests. They just kept pouring, spreading, destroying. It was like they were on a mission to erase everything natural, everything alive. And I realized this was a mistake. This was a planned attack. The HOA, the contractors, all of them working together in the dark. They saw our creek as an obstacle, an inconvenience, something to be bulldozed away for profit. The emotional pain hit me hard. I felt helpless, furious, betrayed. How could they do this? How could they just wipe out a part of our community without asking? And worse, how could they do it in broad daylight, in front of everyone? That moment, it changed everything. I knew I had to fight harder, because if we let them get away with this, what's left of our community? Our environment? I couldn't let that happen. Not without a fight. I thought I knew how bad things could get, but this was next level. After witnessing that destruction, I couldn't just stand there and do nothing. I had to figure out what was really going on, who was behind this mess, and how deep their lives ran. So I started digging. It was like peeling an onion, layer after layer of bullshit. I looked through permits, emails, even leaked documents. Turns out, the HOA and those contractors, they didn't get proper approval. They falsified permits, hidden the real plans, and bribed some officials to stay quiet. It made me sick to my stomach. I wasn't alone in this fight. Sarah and a few neighbors, brave souls, started helping me gather evidence. We knocked on doors, asked questions, and found others who'd seen the same trucks, the secret meetings, the shady deals. Slowly, we built a web of info that exposed their lies. But it wasn't just about gathering proof. We needed allies, people who cared, who'd stand with us. So I reached out to local environmental groups, news outlets, anyone who'd listen. We organized small protests, shared our story on social media, and before long, the word started spreading. Of course, the HOA and their cronies didn't like that. They started intimidating us. Phone calls, fake warnings, even some vague threats. They thought they could scare us into silence. But that only made us more determined. We knew the truth, and we weren't backing down. What really made me angry? They seemed so confident, so manipulative. They played dirty, and they thought they could buy their way out of justice. But I saw their weakness, their arrogance. That's how we started seeing cracks in their armor. I also uncovered a disturbing pattern. This wasn't just one creek, one neighborhood. They've been doing this for years, covering up illegal projects, silencing critics, and lining their pockets. It was a big scam, hidden behind a mask of community development. Every piece of evidence we found made me more furious. I could feel the fire inside me burning brighter. We weren't just fighting for our creek anymore. We were fighting for our rights, for integrity, for the future of our community. And I knew, deep down, this was just the beginning. At this point, I knew we couldn't just keep gathering evidence and hope things would change. No, we had to play smart, outthink them, outmatch their dirty tricks, and turn their own game against them. So I took my background as an engineer and started designing a plan. It wasn't about violence or shouting. It was about strategy. We'd use their lies, their illegal moves, and turn into proof that they couldn't deny. We'd show the community, the authorities, everyone, we had the truth on our side. The first step? Document everything. Photos, videos, legal documents, witness statements. I set up a covert camera near the creek, capturing every illegal pour, every shady meeting. Sarah and the others helped collect affidavits from residents who saw the trucks and the lies behind closed doors. Then, I reached out to some legal experts. We needed to find a way to hit them where it hurt, with laws, regulations, and public pressure. I spent sleepless nights crafting a legal strategy, knowing that if we played our cards right, we could stop the project without a single act of violence. But it wasn't just about legal tactics. We also needed to hit them in the media, expose their corruption, their lies, and their greed. We crafted a plan to release everything through social media, local news, and even some environmental groups that were willing to help. The goal? Make sure everyone knew what they were doing and how wrong it was. Of course, the HOA and their cronies didn't like this. They tried to intimidate us further. Phone calls, fake warnings, even some vague threats. They thought their money and power could silence us. But we stayed strong, knowing that the truth was our greatest weapon. We had to be smart, patient, and relentless. And here's the thing. I learned that sometimes the best revenge isn't violence or chaos. It's cleverness. Outthinking your opponent, using their own tactics against them, and standing firm with integrity. That's how we planned to win. That's how we were going to turn the tide. Because if they think they can cheat the system and get away with it, they're dead wrong. We had a plan, a smart, calculated plan, and we were ready to execute it. This was it. After months of fighting, gathering evidence, and planning every move, we knew we couldn't wait any longer. It was time to take everything public, to make sure everyone saw what the HOA and those contractors had been trying to hide. We organized a huge protest right in front of the HOA office, with signs, cameras, and loud voices. Sarah was leading the charge, her voice fierce and unwavering. I could see the determination in her eyes. She wasn't going to let this slide. We had the proof, and we weren't afraid to show it. As we gathered, reporters showed up, cameras flashed, microphones shoved in our faces. We told our story about the illegal project, the lies, the destruction of our creek, and how we refused to be silenced. And then we dropped our evidence. The photos of trucks pouring concrete into our creek, the permits that were forged, the shady emails. Everything was laid bare. It was like a punch in the gut for the HOA. They tried to deny, to spin their lies, but it was too late. The truth was out. And then something incredible happened. The local authorities, after reviewing our evidence, launched an official investigation. The police came, and they arrested the contractors and HOA officials involved. The media coverage was everywhere. Our community's fight had gone viral. Suddenly, the tables turned. What once seemed unstoppable was now crumbling. The HOA's power was slipping away in the project, and their lies were exposed to the world to see. We had done it. We had fought for our creek, our homes, and our rights, and we won. That day, I felt a mix of relief, pride, and raw emotion. We had turned the community's despair into a victory. And I knew deep in my heart, this was just the beginning of something bigger. Change was coming, and we had made sure everyone knew it. Looking back, I still can't believe how far we've come. That day when everything seemed lost, when the creek was about to be buried under concrete, now feels like a distant nightmare. Because now, the creek is healing, and so is our community. The authorities ordered the HOA to pay fines, and they had to tear out the illegal concrete. They even agreed to restore what they could, replanting trees, fixing the creek's natural flow, and making sure the land was protected. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough to turn the tide. For me, this was more than just saving a creek. It was about fighting for justice, for integrity, for that little voice that refuses to be silenced. We showed everyone that when we stand united, our voices can make a difference. That even a small community can fight back against greed and corruption. Of course, there were lessons in all this. We learned that fighting for what's right isn't easy, but it's worth every sleepless night and every tear. Sometimes, the system is broken, and it takes courage and a little bit of cleverness to fix it. And today, I look at that creek, the same one they tried to destroy, and I see hope. Hope that our community will stay vigilant, that we won't let anyone take our environment for granted again. We won't be silent anymore. This victory, it's not the end. It's a new beginning, a reminder that change is possible, even against the biggest odds. And I hope everyone watching this realizes, your voice matters. Your fight matters. Never underestimate the power of a community that refuses to give up. It's been months since we fought and won. Honestly, sometimes I still can't believe it. The creek, once on the brink of being buried forever, is now alive again. Kids are playing there, ducks are swimming, and the community feels stronger than ever. Looking back, I realized this wasn't just about saving Creek. It was about proving that even the smallest voice can make a huge difference. We stood up against greed, corruption, and indifference, and we came out on top. That feeling? It's priceless. My family and I now walk by the creek often, watching it flow freely, reminding us of what we fought for. And I tell my kids, let this be a lesson. Never be afraid to speak up when something's wrong. Never think your voice doesn't matter. Because when we stand together, we can change the world. The community has become more aware and united. We're more vigilant now, always looking out for each other and our environment. We've learned that real change doesn't happen overnight. It takes courage, persistence, and heart. So, to everyone watching, if there's one thing I want to take away from our story, it's this. Never underestimate the power of community and conviction. When we fight for what's right, no obstacle is too big. Change starts with us, right here, right now. And remember, sometimes the greatest victory isn't just winning. It's knowing you fought the good fight. And in doing so, you inspired others to do the same. That's the real victory.